Hi, everybody. Dr. Nikita Vizniak here with the amazing.
Dr. Ariel Jones, ND.
And I have known Dr. Jones for over a decade, and she was one of the most astute students and excellent people, now excellent doctors to actually work with. She's done a fantastic job. Today, we are going to be talking about water fasting, which is an expert area for Dr. Jones right here. How long have you been doing water fasting for, or retreats and educational processes for people and certifications?
Well, I actually got started in about 2014 when I went and did an internship residency in Hawaii. And it was there that I learned about water fasting almost for the first time. I was surprised actually that we hadn't really studied it more in naturopathic medical school, just because of its deeply healing and curative properties.
Absolutely. And the first time I learned about it was in chiropractic college. One of my mentors was a DCND who actually went through and did a water fast. He had a prosthetic hypertrophy taking place. He did a water fast for, I think, 21 days, and he was able to take his prostate serum antigen levels back down to regular levels after the fast. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but let's get into where all this information is coming from. So most of this information we're going to be talking about out of our booklet, but we also have courses that you can take with Dr. Jones directly herself as well. So of course, this is from the evidence-informed nutrition text, 3 easy steps to feeling better. You can do it.
We can help.
All right. Eating for optimal health. So if we go to the water fasting, where is that? Right up here on page 70. So I'll click us ahead to that. So Dr. Jones, tell us, what is a water fast?
That's a great question. A water fast is literally just taking in water for a period of time, as little as 3 days up to 21 or 40.
Okay. All right. And then what would be my reasons for doing this water fasting?
There's quite a few reasons. There's physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual. In our book here, it says reasons for participating in a water fast. There's efficacy. So water fasting is one of the quickest and oldest methods for reversing many diseases and for prolonging lifespan. There's also the traditional aspect, and this is what I usually talk about first when I'm presenting, which is that every single, ancient culture and religion, actually it's more so religion in the world, pretty much has a water fast. So the Jewish culture has Yom Kippur, Islam has Ramadan, and it goes on and on. So whether it's a 1 day, 24-hour water fast, fasting has been historically a part of human culture. The other thing that people were doing even further back than our organized religion was fasting and famine and fasting, feasting and famine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Evolutionarily speaking, that's the way that life would have been, right? There would have been feast and famine for most of us. Yeah. All right.
That's right.
Okay, so we can talk about some of the therapeutic uses for these water fasts really quick. So we have asthma, of course. We've also got our cancer risk, cardiovascular, hyperlipidemia, hypertension. When you're thinking about these conditions in general, how do you apply a water fast to these conditions?
So I always ask people, what's your goal for the water fast? What is it that you're hoping to accomplish? Because that will determine the length of fast that you need to do. I was kind of taught that, you don't really want to fast for less than 7 days or less than 10 days. But when I started my programs, I did some experimenting, and I found that people really went through this beautiful arc of healing, even down to as little as a 3-day fast. And that arc of healing is, preparing, putting yourself in a place of discomfort and then coming out of it. And in doing something like that, we always learn something, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or even spiritual. So, and then there's intermittent fasting where you can do just 1 day, 24 hours, and that has its benefits too. If you want to be doing something like healing up osteoarthritis, 10 days or more. If it's autoimmune, you're going to need to do 21. And it just kind of goes on like that. But every single fast longer than 24 hours is going to be, reducing your risk of developing certain cancers like breast cancer. Your beta-derived neurotropic factor in your brain is going to be creating more circuits and more neuronal pathways. So there's a lot of things that are happening, improving our insulin receptors and
so one of the key things
exactly.
So one of the key things that you see is people often come out with more cognitive ability or better, more efficient cognitive ability following and during a water fast, right?
And that's not just due to the beta-derived neurotropic factor. The most prominent thing that a water fast will do of any length is, first of all, get rid of inflammation.
Excellent.
And
yes.
inflammation in the gut. And, most people don't even know they're inflamed until they
Mhm.
try to do something that's anti-inflammatory, whether it's a diet, the anti-inflammatory diet, or a water fast. And that is a very beautiful part of a water fast.
Yeah, we've met a couple of times in Hawaii where you had your clinic there, and I do like yoga retreats and things like that out there.
That's right.
And during ours, we do a vegan, very clean, natural eating during our yoga retreats. And
Right.
it's amazing how many people, it's such a reset event for them as far as their GI
Absolutely.
health, their mental health, everything as well.
You
So
bring
look,
up a good point about a vegan. So basically there's stages to detoxification in the body. So even a simple dietary change, like going vegetarian. So it goes
Mhm.
vegetarian, then vegan, then a raw food diet, then a juice fast, and then a water fast. And those
Mhm.
are the levels and depth of detoxification. So they all have their purpose and they all have their value depending on what the goal is for the patient.
Yeah, and so this will be my next question right here. What are some of the
Sure.
benefits associated with these water fasts? We've already mentioned them for specific conditions, but what other benefits would you suggest?
Right. So we've talked about in terms of certain diseases that it can be curative, like what you have here with the hypertension. And that's something that I've seen as well. I've also seen it be curative for an asthma case.
Mhm.
But outside of a case basis, we have here written the post-fasting benefits, increased libido, which matters for a lot of patients. I don't know
Mhm.
if everybody in the world knows what everyone else is talking about with their doctor, but that's certainly an important one. Increased eyesight, hearing, sense of smell, increase in red blood cell count. And actually, to add to that, only a 3-day fast will give you a complete new set of white blood cells. So it's a complete immune system overhaul,
Mhm.
essentially. Increase of some of these neurotransmitters and increased chondrocyte and osteoblast activity, which is why it's a great thing for people trying to heal up from OA.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
So looking back at this though too, as with any diet or any kind of change in nutrient intake, what are some of the contraindications I have to watch out for these water fasting diets?
I see you have a list here. I'm going to talk about mine first
Yep,
that I'm constantly lecturing on. So the first
yep.
one is going to be a fear of fasting, and that's the most unusual one. But
It's legit
sometimes
though.
people want to fast, but
Yep.
they are afraid to fast, or they get into their fasting process and they become afraid of the sensations that they're feeling. So fear of fasting is one. The
Mhm.
most common one is polypharmacy. So
Mhm.
if you're on pharmaceutical
Mhm.
medications, not all of them, I make an exception for some. Fasting for weight loss is not a good idea, or fasting with a history of eating disorder is good. And obviously it's not good for kids. And I don't
Mhm.
recommend that. And I don't supervise kids in that sense. Yeah.
Let's just take a step back right there because I think that's a big one for a lot of people. They believe that that fast is going to give them long-term weight loss, yet we know in the research that is not typically the case.
One great thing that it will do for somebody whose BMI is high, whether it's high or obese, is it's going to reset their insulin receptors, so increase the sensitivity. So you can it's almost like the beginning of a path. So once we reset the insulin sensitivity, that's great. And then we also have to really focus on things like nutrition
Mhm.
and staying the course of an expert treatment plan that you can get with a
Yeah,
doctor.
exactly. Staying on that expert treatment plan with the correct recommendations and making sure to follow
That's
it to a
right.
T. Otherwise, the cheats and everything like that basically make it ineffective.
The reintroduction is one of the most important parts of the water fast. So
Mhm.
you have to do it very regulated, and it's really good to do it under the supervision of a doctor, because if you can go slow and reintroduce properly, that's great. But
Mhm.
what can happen sometimes, I've experienced it myself, I've done all sorts of experimenting on myself. But
Mhm.
once you start eating after you've been in a fasting stage, what we're trying to avoid is this thing that happens in the brain, which goes, I'm starving. You're not
Mhm.
actually starving, and fasting is different than starvation, and that's an important distinction.
Yep.
Fasting is safe. Fasting is evolutionary advantageous. Starving is an extended state of a water fast where it's become dangerous, and we're actually starting to metabolize our organs.
Well,
And so that's
exactly.
a stage we never want to get to. But
Yep.
fasting is not starving. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Let's just make sure we'll finish this off, and then I'm going to get you to walk us through
sure.
a actual fast. So, other contraindications or things to watch out for?
Well, we have written here lactation. So obviously, pregnancy or lactation, that's not the time to be fasting.
Mhm.
This says dyspnea caused by heart conditions. So any type of organ condition, actually. So when we're going to fast somebody, we'll do full blood work and full workup. And so we're making sure that their liver is working properly, their kidneys working properly, and of course every other organ. Kidney filtration problems, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer, and underweight. So I would say that
these are flexible. Yeah.
Sometimes they're flexible. People with certain cancers and certain stages of cancer can fast, but I will agree with those last three. One's in an extended state of cachexia. In my opinion, they're no longer a fasting candidate. Or if anybody else has had, for any other reason, extended weight loss, that's one of our monitoring parameters. So people, when they're water fasting, we pull the plug and reintroduce when they've lost 20% of their body weight. Because after that, we run a risk of entering that zone, that dangerous zone.
All right, so why don't you go ahead and walk me through, because you are such a world expert on this, why don't you go ahead and walk me through what a fast will look like? And I know it's on an individualized basis because there is going to be specific goals that people are going to be working towards, but just in general, what is the process?
People ask me this all the time. They're like, so I'm going to come out there and just do nothing and like drink water? And it's a fair question. But luckily the way I was trained is, this isn't just a physical process. We're also, we're really undergoing a mental and emotional transformation. When in water fasting, we're breaking down our tissues. We're breaking down fat. We're breaking down all types of scar tissue. And what I notice happens is things come to the surface. It's a complete healing. So in that respect, we're addressing that. So during a fast, people are going to be not just drinking water, they're also going to be doing some light stretching. They're going to be doing some journaling, and they're going to be having sessions with a professional, with me, and they're doing yoga and all kinds of other treatments, massage and lymphatic drainage. But to get started for a water fast, there's kind of 3 stages. So we prepare for a water fast. We do a full medical intake. Like I said, we do the blood work, and we make sure that you're cleared for fasting. You start the fasting program, which, like I said, you have a whole daily process. We're also doing dry skin brushing, doing daily enemas, and I like to include colonics. The traditional fasting doctors would have said leave the colon completely alone, but what I've found is by getting rid of the toxins, getting rid of the bile, people have an easier fast, more enjoyable fast. So we have all that kind of programming during the fast, and then the reintroduction starts. And the reintroduction is very case by case specific, but essentially we break it on the 5-element broth, which is a really important broth. You can look it up on Hawaii Naturopathics website, and mono meals, and that's how you break into a fast. So the soup, and then go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, go ahead and finish it off, because I do have another question to follow up. But it's a gradual stage that you're bringing people out.
Exactly. And people wouldn't believe the amount that their taste receptors have reset. So people always ask, can I have salt? And when can I have salt? And when can I have oil? And I'm like, you just wait till you taste a boiled zucchini or like a steamed carrot after fasting. It's intense. It's such a beautiful thing to have your taste buds reset, because a strawberry, you've never tasted a strawberry before. You've never tasted a piece of watermelon. Like it's fantastic.
If you go onto YouTube, I do a little meditation where I take people through a raisin, and it takes us about 6 to 10 minutes to eat one raisin. And that's okay, but it's nothing like when you've, exactly what you said, had a reset of your taste receptors. Your body is just craving any nutrients, any stimulation, and it is absolutely beautiful when you eat that food.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Dr. Jones, how can people get in touch with you to actually perceive and go through this fantastic event, which potentially can be life-changing for a lot of patients?
It really can. And so I offer medically supervised distance fasting for certain people for certain lengths of fast, between 3 days, 5 days, and 7 days. You can have a look at those on my website, drarieljones.com, drarieljones.com, to see all the programs. And I have a lot of information on my website too about fasting, how to prepare for a fast, how to come out of a fast, the contraindications, and some of my recordings from when I've been speaking at conferences.
All right, excellent. Super lucky, super fortunate to have you here to share your wisdom with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Jones, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next video.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.